Hi everyone, welcome to the Parenting Pickup, a podcast simply made to help families with trending topics and so much more.
We are positive you will pick up tidbits of helpful tips, tricks, activities, and advice when listening to our podcast. I'm Alex.
And I'm Angie.
Thanks for listening. Hi everyone. So today we are going to be talking about meltdowns, which is kind of a trending topic right now with the holidays and anxiety with COVID. So it's definitely been something we need to talk about, or what I feel like we need to talk about.
Absolutely.
And parents need to know the ins and outs of tantrums and meltdowns and how to avoid them and how to help your kids and all the things. So we have a special guest. We have Kate Wessinger. She's New Horizon Academy's early childhood mental health specialist.
Yes.
So welcome.
Thank you.
We should probably just start off with defining meltdowns.
Yeah, I think that's important for us to just make sure we're all talking about the same thing, right? So whatever word you use, meltdowns, tantrums, temper tantrums. So for babies, a meltdown or a temper tantrum, obviously babies cry to communicate about everything because their language is still developing. But when you see a meltdown or a temper tantrum in a baby, they will be crying. You might see that red face. They will often turn away from things. If they get really upset, you'll see them tremor kind of with their body, a little shake, or flail, right? Their arms and legs will flail. So with babies, that's a lot of the behavior that you can look for. With toddlers, obviously a lot of us, we're laughing, right? Toddlers have meltdowns. That's a normal thing for them to do. We want to see them care a little bit more, so you actually want to get through that no phase. You want the no phase to happen, so you will hear them say no to things. They will cry, they will scream, they will yell. They might they'll definitely fall out and flail, on the ground. And then sometimes they will escalate to like hitting or throwing or biting, kind of express themselves when things are so hard that they will resort to using those behaviors for those meltdowns or temper tantrums. Thinking then about maybe preschoolers is similar but different, right? We're getting older, so they do have some language, so they will still cry and scream and yell, but then you might see some really interesting things, like they might try out some swearing with you. They might do that. They will still fall out. They will still hit, throw. They might also break things or, dump things out, cause a mess. They might also run away and hide because unlike babies and toddlers, they can move their bodies more. They have more agency with their bodies, so they will sometimes do more of those types of behaviors too. Temper tantrums, depending on how escalated it gets. And then we can also think quick, about elementary school agers, because they do have meltdowns too. They're not teenagers yet, but often their meltdowns look like yelling, for sure complaining, right? Mm-hmm. I don't want to, I'm not whining, kind of complaining. You will definitely probably see some more swearing in this age group. They will stomp around, they will mope. They will also do something called Stonewalling, which is where they basically are like walking away from you, don't want to talk to you. Mm-hmm. No, Mama, no, I don't want to, things like that. They will also sometimes, if they do get physical, might knock stuff over or slam items, throw my backpack on the ground. No, I don't want to go to school. So does that help kind of
for sure
things into context of what meltdowns look like for every age group?
Yeah, and
they're
it's
the
funny,
same but different.
Yeah, and it's funny that people just think of meltdowns related to toddlers.
Yeah,
that's sure. Like a toddler thing that's normalized, but it's also like something you see at every age. And it's different every milestone. So it's important to talk about, because I know for me, when I hear meltdowns, I'm like thinking about the kid in the Target that's screaming about the toy they want from their parents, and then the parents all flustered and everyone's staring, and what do? You know what I mean?
Well, we can talk about that.
Yeah, because I know it happens with every parent. Like every parent experiences that at some sort of stage.
I also think it's important to put meltdowns or tantrums into context. So when we think about the behaviors that we just talked about, it's really important for us to recognize that all behavior is communication. So even though most of us would probably think that a temper tantrum or a meltdown is an unwanted thing, especially in Target when it's public, when our parenting is on display, right? It's an unwanted thing, and even around the house, like you're getting ready to go to school or childcare, it's an unwanted thing because it's, something you have to spend time on, and oh my gosh, not again, especially if you're having a lot of them at home right now. But all behavior is communication. And so as we go forward in our discussion today, we are really going to hearken back to that mentality, because when your child is having a hard time, no matter what their age is, they are trying to communicate something. And usually meltdowns are signaling, that communication is signaling a couple things. So I'm just going to state them real quick. So they're either missing an emotional coping skill. So the child is overwhelmed and they don't know how to handle it. And that is them signaling, like, so they're falling out because they don't know how to handle that feeling, or they don't know how to cope in that scenario. So that is one of the main things that their behavior is communicating, like, I need help handling this situation, help me. Or their behavior is communicating that tantrums work for them as an avoidance strategy. Usually that happens because we've given into the tantrum before. The child is going to be like, well, if I just pitch a fit, I know that mom's eventually going to give in. That becomes a strategy. And that happens for some kids. That can be part of what their behavior is communicating. Like, well, I'm going to use this as a strategy to get out of this, or whatever the case may be. So we can talk about some examples as we go, but remembering that all behavior is communication.
Mm-hmm.
I will also say then too that when we think about all behavior is communication, so even this unwanted meltdown, the child's communicating something, then it already can help us shift our intent as parents, because we can start to then recognize that rather than this derailing my morning, rather than this, derailing my target or my shopping experience with my child, it shifts from this punish or stop it mentality to investigating and helping our child to succeed and get through the moment. And it also, we can recognize it also as an opportunity to practice emotional regulation skills. Because again, if the behavior is communicating, I don't know how to handle this big moment, mom or dad, then we can recognize, like, oh, here's where I can help you handle it.
Yeah, and I feel like with my experience, like growing up, I just remember like spanking was a big thing. Like if I was having a tantrum, the outcome was you're gonna get spanked, or like some sort of threatening, because my parents for sure didn't know how to handle it.
Yeah.
It's interesting to hear you say it's more of me communicating. Like obviously at that age, I have no idea what I'm doing, right. But like I'm not able to control it. The outcome, like parents need to realize, okay, relax, like they're trying to communicate with me. Here's what I need to do.
I think it's just really interesting to see it from that perspective too, because I think for me in that situation, if I was like in a grocery store or somewhere in public and my child had a meltdown, I would just instantly think I'm a bad mom. Like I'm not doing something right. I didn't raise them to be like this, but it is a normal thing, and it is just them trying to figure out the world.
And when we think about it from that perspective, I appreciate you pointing that out, because toddlers, babies have been alive on this earth for months, okay? Toddlers have been alive for 1 or 2 years. So they are still figuring out the world, quite seriously. And preschoolers, 3, 4, 5 years, that's all their experience is. Life is hard, and you're gonna have a meltdown about it. And as adults, we have so many more, life experience, coping skills, we've been around for longer, and we can recognize, what's a little issue that I don't need to have a big tantrum over, but children do not. So oftentimes, little issues in their mind are really big problems. Yeah, and so they react with a big reaction. And the other developmental piece that we need to keep in mind too is that young children need to learn that feeling states change. So sometimes when they have a feeling, they don't realize that feeling does not last forever. So when I'm sad, about my ice cream falling on the floor, it doesn't mean that feeling lasts forever. So as the adult, we are teaching them this feeling doesn't have to last forever, and here's how you can help your child through that feeling. So they are literally figuring the world out, yes, from an emotional standpoint. So I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah. That's so crazy to me to think about. So obviously now we've kind of talked about what that meltdown looks like.
Yeah.
What are tips that you have to avoid that as a parent? Like what can they do to derail the situation?
Mm-hmm. Part of what we just acknowledged, I think, is that tantrums are going to happen.
For sure.
Yeah. And they are communicating something. So I think it's helpful first for us to probably point out things to avoid as a parent. Because you mentioned this, Alex, that your parents might have used spanking. So what we can think about is what was what was done to us, because those are skills that were handed down to us. So we all come at parenting with a set of skills that we've picked up along the way, either what was done to us as children, and then also what did we pick up along the way? Did we have teachers that gave different examples? Did we have, loved ones who gave different examples, special relationships who had different examples along the way? So we come to parenting with all of those pieces, even tips that we get from, experts like this conversation that we're having, right? So we're always, well-intentioned, right? Your parents, Alex, they were well-intended, but they didn't know what else to do, so they used spanking. Mm-hmm. So what I really want to help us start the conversation with, strategy-wise, is what to avoid. Because then we can talk about the good stuff, what to do, right? Because we all have, less than stellar parenting moments, and when they happen at Target, it's that's a hard one, right? So the very first piece, I think, is reminding ourselves that we have feelings too as the adult, and so when our child gets heightened, we usually get heightened too. That's a normal neurobiological response that we have as Homo sapiens, as mammals, and that's our first tip, is to not lose your cool, right? If you lose your cool, your child gets to borrow your state. So if you lose your cool and you're frustrated, your child's just going to get more frustrated too. If you lose your cool and you're anxious, your child's just going to borrow your anxiety and get more anxious.
Yeah, you're feeding off each other.
Yes, you are. And if you harness your calm, which is the strategy we will talk about, then they get to borrow your calm. So not losing your cool is a thing to avoid. Another thing to avoid is taking it personal. Don't take your child's behavior personal. That is very epically hard in Target. You will take it personal, but like you said, they are just communicating something. That can be our reminder to recognize, even if the child, like my daughter does not like me putting a hat on her head. So even though she doesn't like that, I don't take it personal. It's the hat that she doesn't like. It's not me putting the hat on her, so to speak. I know I am literally putting the hat on her, but I hope you get what I mean. And so because if we take it personal as the parent, then we tend to lose our cool. So not losing our cool, not taking it personal, helps to set us up to be more calm. The other thing to avoid is to assume negative intent. If we assume negative intent, if we assume our toddler is out to get us, if we assume that our school ager, is just trying to get out of doing their homework, then we are going to have a harder time keeping our cool and helping our child through the tantrum. The other tips to avoid, speaking about what you were sharing with your own experience, Alex, is punishing, bribing, shaming, blaming, forcing, or even saving our child from the feelings that they're having. A lot of us have shifted away from corporal punishment. So spanking teaches, what do you do with your feeling? It teaches you to hit. Mm-hmm. So, mommy has a big feeling, she spanks. This is what you do to discharge your big feeling, you hit. So you're teaching your child to hit when they have big feelings. So we've shifted away from that with a lot of our parenting strategies nowadays, which is helpful, but we've accidentally also then shifted into saving our children from having their feelings. So that saving piece is also helpful for us to remember, that we can help our children through these feelings, and that's what we'll talk about, but to not just rescue them and make it go away and just have the feeling or the behavior stop, because there's learning to be done here. The last thing to avoid is and this is big across the board, even with infants, but particularly with toddlers and preschoolers, because you cannot reason with them when they are in their upset state. That the part of their brain that does the problem solving and the reasoning, first of all, isn't fully developed yet, and second of all, is offline because of the big feeling. So if we skip soothing as the parent and we rush to rationalize or problem solve or fix it or make it go away, your meltdown is actually going to last longer. So we could talk a little bit more about that, but those are some of the things to avoid.
Awesome. Yeah, and I know me as an aunt, I'm a parent as well, but with my nephews, babysitting them, I was the briber.
Yeah, right. We've tried these things. I've tried them too.
I wouldn't do the spanking, obviously. With the bribing, I kind of am surprised to hear that's not good. And I totally get it now, because you're just instilling, if I do this, cause and effect. Yep, so my nephews are probably if I scream and cry, then I'll get a piece of candy.
We can still set up logical consequences.
Yeah.
But we would want to do that ahead of the meltdown in an ideal situation.
Like if you're good today, like we'll go to the park.
Yeah.
Yep.
Rather
Before
than
the
in the
meltdown.
moment.
Yeah.
I'll just give you this if you just shut up, if you just be quiet, if you just stop
And
screaming.
I have seen, because they don't know how to handle it.
Yes.
Sure.
They're embarrassed. They're like, whatever to make you shut up right now.
And we've all been there.
Yeah.
We've either seen it or experienced it because we were children once.
Yeah.
Or, right now in our own lives. So.
But for sure now they're thinking, oh, now every time I do this, I'm going to get a toy. So.
It's teaching them something.
Yeah.
That saving piece for me, like that really stood out to me because I feel like as a parent, you want what's best for your kid. Like you don't want them to go through any negative emotions.
Yes, it's natural that it's hard to see your children having a hard time.
Yeah, it's just your instinct to like save them from it and rescue them from that, but like they can't grow if they never experience that.
You're so right.
That's a really interesting. I've never really thought about that until just
developmentally, that is exactly, you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, and I think that's even like another topic down the road for another episode,
for sure.
But like helicopter parenting, like saving your child, like because they just do everything for the child. No, they're not learning, so.
Yeah. So we just went over what to avoid. So then, natural question. So what do you do? If I can't bribe my child, if I can't, make it go away, if I can't rationalize with them, oh my God, what do I do? Some of us might feel like there are no other strategies to use because those have been, again, our go-to strategies that have been handed down to us. And I want to reassure you that there are things that you can do that'll be effective, and just to acknowledge for yourselves if this is where you're at, these are new skills that you might be learning too, and that's okay. So how do we keep our cool? So that's actually the very first step. So step number 1 of what to do is to self-regulate in order to co-regulate. So the moment starts happening in your minds will probably be thinking something like, oh my gosh, not again, not here. Oh, I'm so tired. Whatever your brain is going to complain about, because it will inside your thoughts. And that's when you notice that you're getting triggered. You breathe. You help yourself establish a sense of calm so that then you can go towards your child in their upset state. And you will simply just be labeling. So second step is to label what you see happening for them. So you seem sad, mad, happy, elated, because sometimes even happy, like, positive.
They're so excited, they're
but
crying.
they can be so big. We have kiddos that get so big, right? Even with a positive feeling. So just labeling, you seem blank, fill in the feeling. And you want to try to use a feeling word, not a thought. So like, I feel like having a beer is a thought and a behavior. It's not a feeling. So I feel depressed. I feel sad would be a more accurate. So we want to do that for our kids too, to help. Again, you're teaching them a social emotional language in this moment. And then as a part of that, you want to also acknowledge with the words you wanted or you were hoping blank as a validation. So you seem frustrated. You were hoping to go to the ice cream store, or you seem so excited. You're jumping up and down. Grandma's coming over, right? There's still a big feeling there. You want to help them regulate it, even though it's a positive thing. You'll be labeling the feeling and acknowledging you wanted or you were hoping to validate that. The moment we do that with our children, you're looking for them to shift, especially if they're upset. You'll be naming that feeling and validating why they feel that way, and you'll be looking for the shift of, yeah. So you'll see their body literally start to relax in their shoulders usually, or if they're flailing, it might momentarily stop. And then sometimes, depending on where your child's at too, in the upset moment in the relationship, the practice that you two have had doing this together, they will acknowledge, yeah, I am really feeling that way. The other thing that I want to give a little tidbit here too is if your child corrects you, like if you're throwing in your best guess here, you seem frustrated, you wanted to have ice cream before you went to the library. If that's your best guess. If you guessed it wrong and your child corrects you, even screaming, that's okay. They're actually there in that moment with you. They're not, so you've got them in that. They're communicating, right? So no, I'm not frustrated, I'm mad. Oh, then you go with that. Oh, so you're mad. You're mad about not going there first. I get it. You really wanted that. Yes, I did! Okay? You are the calm presence that you're bringing to the situation. And that's the third step, is you're then going to just soothe and co-regulate. For some of our children, that means that we're going to be right near them. If they can't tolerate a lot of physical comfort or soothing, or that escalates them, then we're just going to be near them and breathing and emotionally available. I'm going to be right here for when you're ready. And that's a positive thing. Other of our children, we know if we can scoop them right up and hug them and soothe them and pat them on the back, or continue to breathe with them. Just breathe with me. So usually what we think about when we do this third step, the soothing and co-regulating, after we've named what they're upset about, is where that safe place is for each child. So for babies and infants, the safe place is on our chest. So we would scoop them up and we would co-regulate with them on our chest so that they can feel our heartbeat, they can hear and feel our breathing and their chest going in and out. And we're doing that right there. For toddlers, it's on our lap. So we would usually, it also can be your chest, because depending on how upset they get, brain state wise, you're still dealing with a younger state like they are when they're a baby. So chest is still okay, but usually it's lap. So you're swooping them into your lap and holding them there and validating. And oh, it was so hard. I know. You wanted to play with the truck. Right, you're helping them right there. Preschoolers, again, lap and hugging chest is fine depending on where they're at. But usually it's just right alongside you, kind of in your arms or holding hands or something like that, just right there. And then elementary school agers, they're probably going to have more distance there, because they have more agency. They care. They don't want to come. They don't want to cuddle. You might be able to cuddle at the end, depending on the age of your school ager. There's still plenty of 10-year-olds who want to cuddle deep down inside. So you'll just go with what you know about your child the best. But that is where that positive co-regulating distance really comes into play, where you'll be emotionally available and sharing that composed energy with your child within the room, for example. Or maybe if your child is stormed off to their own room, you're just politely, letting them know, I'm here when you're ready.
Yep.
I'll be right in the kitchen, having my own cup of tea, so I stay calm.
Yep.
See you in a moment.
I'm gonna take a few breaths first.
Yes, so that wherever that place is, whatever that soothing and co-regulation physically looks like for your child is that third piece. The fourth piece is to move on, but only to do that when they're actually composed and ready. And so that means that you're moving on either by teaching a new skill, leading them through problem solving, or following through with the task. So even if your preschooler, your young child got upset about not wanting to wear the certain color pants to school or something, right? I want to wear these other ones. I'm not getting dressed. I'm not going to school, right? You will still follow through once they're calm to get them dressed to go to school. And even if they didn't get to have the toy in the store, you will still follow through and help them handle that, right? You're not going to give in like we talked about. You're not going to not follow through, because again, part of what they would learn in that moment, they would still learn the calming from you, which would be better than nothing, maybe better than what we feel like we're doing right now, if that's part of why you're listening, but also to recognize that they would also learn, like, oh, if I pitch this long enough of a fit, then you're finally gonna give in, and I don't have to do the thing, I don't have to put the dishes away, or whatever they're not wanting to do, right? And that's not what we want them to get out of it at the end. The end is, I can help my child, I can help you through this big feeling. There is an end to this big feeling. We can feel better again together, we can problem solve together, and we can still handle the thing that you thought was too hard to handle. We can still wear the green pants to school. We can still get out of this store without buying all the toys in the aisle. Yeah. We handle this, and that's really what you're teaching your child.
Would you say that compromise is kind of giving in, or would you say that's recommended?
As with most answers, it depends.
Yeah.
Compromise, if your parenting style and you can identify for yourself that you are kind of like a hardline parent and you never budge, and that causes some of the problems between you and your child and the power struggles and these tantrums, compromise might be something that you set yourself out to work on.
Yeah.
And to recognize, like, okay, how can I soften for my child? Because I'm trying to help them meet me. How can I also meet them halfway? Compromise can be something ideally to do, again, ahead of the thing that happens, the meltdown. So pre-teaching coming into the situation would be a way to set that up ideally. And then sometimes, yes, you're going to compromise at the end, but again, we want to not do that to make the meltdown stop. We want to do that as a healing part. After you've soothed your child through the upset feeling, if compromise is a part of the problem solving, the moving on at the end of that fourth strategy that we talked about, that's totally valid, right? Especially if you recognize that that's the best way to move forward with a situation. I can just think of an example off the top of my head. So if we were in a power struggle with our child, and they had an upset reaction and we had an upset reaction too, where we lost our cool and we said or did some things that we don't feel good about, we can do that as a repair and acknowledge a compromise. So let's say that my child wasn't ready to get out of their car seat, they wanted to stay, and I lost my cool and I said, well, you have to get out right now. We might compromise as I calm myself down, as I calm my child when I can do that. We could compromise and get through that and say, okay, now that we both, got through that hard moment, it sounds like you want a few more minutes in the car. So would you like 2 more minutes in the car or 3 more minutes in the car? And that would be a little bit of a compromise, right? Because you're realizing part of what your child is communicating is a need right there. Like we said, the behavior is communicating something, and how we could meet them halfway would be a compromise. But again, not having that be the way to head off the meltdown.
Yeah.
Like fine. If you just be quiet, I'll fine. You can finish the Frozen song in the car. I'll let you finish. Like that's not how we want to compromise.
Yeah, that's like the bribing almost.
Yeah, it is. So. It gets into paying attention to what's your intent as the parent to use some of those.
Yeah, for sure.
Approaches, yeah.
Those are good examples, too.
Yeah.
To end this segment, there are parents who have reached out to us on Instagram that have some questions, knowing that we do have our mental health specialist. And I actually have a question first. Okay. So my son is 8 months now, but he is still struggling with laying on his stomach. And we're trying to get him to crawl, but every time we put him down on his stomach, he just screams. Like, he does not like it. And he never was like this early on. Like, he was fine. But now that we're trying to put him on his stomach more to crawl, he just hates it. Yeah. And I'm probably being the bad mom now by picking him up and comforting him. But so I don't know what to do. What do you suggest?
This is a great one. And I appreciate that we're starting with babies and kind of can go through kind of the developmental stages that we were talking about earlier, because with babies it is a little bit different, because like we said, they've been on this earth for only a few months, right? They do not know how to handle these feelings. Their communication skills are not, they are developing, but the skills that they have to communicate is the crying. And so the very first thing I would acknowledge with this example is, and thank you for sharing it and being vulnerable to do that, is that you recognize that he doesn't like it and that he is communicating that. So that you're already on the right track. You're seeing the behavior as communication. He's communicating that this is hard for me. And so developmentally, what we can think about with babies is, if in this case he doesn't like being on his tummy, he's right. Being on your tummy, doing tummy time, learning how to move your body, and integrating your motor reflexes into your brain and your body, that is hard work. Being a baby is hard, everybody. Like, it is so hard. And so we do want to honor, like we said, walking him through this. This is hard, buddy. So one of the things I would have you guys back up and do just proactively, if he doesn't enjoy spending time on his tummy, is actually make sure that he's spending as much time as possible on a firm, flat surface on his back. Because developmentally, babies are communicating that being on their tummy is hard. It possibly, yes, it's hard, but it also possibly could be they don't have all the muscles to handle it. And so we want to make sure he can actually handle it developmentally first, that we're not going to be asking too much of him. So babies being on their back on a firm, flat surface is how they develop the core muscles and the neck muscles and some of the other muscles that I just don't know. I'm not going to name them all.
We're not the experts here.
But to be able to get to their tummy, to roll over, and to handle being on their tummy. So once you've been able to do that with him, you do also still want to put him in what we call tummy time. Most of us know what tummy time is developmentally now as a protocol, but we do still want to give him bouts of being on his tummy. And because it's hard for him, you want to be right there actually, so that he doesn't feel like he's in it alone, and that he has some support. So sometimes you could do that tummy time on your tummy, like putting him on his tummy while you're laying down on your back so that you can be face to face, or you're laying down on your tummy while he's on the floor, and you're being present with him, and you're already imbibing that calm, that step one, right? Self-regulate to co-regulate. So with your baby, in this case, it would be presenting yourself in as calm a state as possible. Then if and when he starts to struggle, you are still breathing, you're still trying to compose yourself, and you're gonna acknowledge, even for babies, we still wanna do this step. You seem frustrated, your body's going like this, your face is going like this, you seem so frustrated. It's hard work being on your tummy, it's hard work. And validate that, literally talk to him like that, which you're kind of giggling, like a lot of us don't do that.
Yeah, because I'm not doing that.
But we want to do that because it still lays the groundwork for their social emotional skills, even as babies. They do understand us energetically, they do understand us literally, and that's helping to validate him, and you'll still see him momentarily relax. And if you can get down on the floor and do that with him, then you can maybe present another toy or something that buys him a little bit more time on his tummy, even just you being there, or another toy to reference to have that time be something that he's willing to sit down there and do. And then you're still looking, though, if he's getting too distressed, because if he is getting too distressed and your co-regulation right there doesn't support, you are, in this case, you're not going to leave him there in distress, because guess what? He's learning unhelpful things at that point. He's learning, mom doesn't come to me, mom doesn't listen to me, I can't handle this, and she doesn't recognize that. So we don't want him to learn that. We do want you to swoop him up and put him to your chest and really regulate him if he's too distressed, right?
Yeah.
Because then he recognizes, I can feel better again. I can handle being on our tummy. And then once he's calm and you're calm, you're going to put him right back down again, and we're going to handle being on our tummy again. Because that's the follow through, that's the moving on. And you can literally say that to him, like, you're holding him to your chest, you're breathing. Ooh, that was so much. That was almost too much time for you. That was so hard. I know. Ooh, we're calming down. You can handle it. Yeah, buddy. Okay. Oh, there you are. You're smiling again. Okay. Let's go. We're going to go down again. Here we go. And oh, look there's Teddy. Teddy Bear's going to do it with us too, right? So you're going to buy him a little bit more time. But you've done that because you've soothed him. So where does that leave you?
No, that's
because
perfect.
I have this. You are the example here. So how do you feel about
I
that?
immediately panic, and my husband's like, "Nope, don't touch him. Like, he needs to work through it." And I'm like, "No, like, he's screaming. Like, I need to comfort him."
Do you hear in this answer that you're both right?
Yeah.
He needs the comfort. He needs the regulation from you. You don't want it to come from a sense of panic. So you need to regulate yourself first.
Yep.
Because you don't want to save him. Okay, that's where the saving is. So,
yeah.
But your husband's also right too. He does need to learn this. But if he's too distressed, he's done learning.
Yeah.
Okay? So you want this to be positive time on your tummy.
And then as soon as he calms down, we don't put him back.
Yeah.
We just put him in the stand-up, or he's sitting, or
so he
else.
learns, if I pitch this fit, which is developmentally appropriate for the baby, he's also communicating that he's upset. This is hard for me. So he's communicating both. But then I learned that I can get into something else.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
And so maybe you do put him into something else, but again, maybe we put him onto his back on the floor instead. Because then he's back on that firm, flat surface rather than standing up in a position that he's not developmentally ready for. And so we want to then he can get back to his tummy.
Yeah.
So you following through is part of what you want to monitor there a little bit. It sounds like you're reflecting on. So
yeah.
So, good for you.
No, thank you for your help. Because I'm like seeing like red, I'm panicking. We do have a couple other questions.
So Katie messaged us about her toddler who refuses to wear her life jacket when on the boat or swimming. How do you suggest that she gets her to wear it without having a complete meltdown every time?
I'm laughing because I actually saw this happen this summer. So we're in the Twin Cities, right? We're in Minnesota. We're on the lake a lot. We have access to water for a lot of us, and we were at the beach with my own family and saw an epic toddler meltdown with this father who had with this exact situation. And I was not judging this dad by any means, but I did have my lens on a little bit here, just noticing what was going on for the two of them, right? And I was breathing for them and wishing them well. Because,
from a distance, you were helping them.
But it was helping me stay cool, and it energetically does help other people to breathe for them and wish them well. So anyway, toddlers, they go through the no phase. You actually want the no phase to happen. This child might be in their no phase from this mom writing in. And they definitely have a lot of boundaries about their body because they are learning that they're more capable than I was when I was a baby, but there are still limitations. I'm not a big kid yet. Like, you're still, I do have to be safe on the water. I have to wear my, but I don't want to, right? So toddlers are in this really hard place. Being a toddler, being a baby's hard. Being a toddler's a little bit even harder, right? Because they have this juxtaposition between I'm not little anymore, but I'm not big yet, and there's still so many things that I can and cannot do, and my adult has to do these things. It could be car seat, it could be life jacket, it could be diaper, it could be anything kind of where it relates to their body. Let them play with it at home before you have to go do the thing, so that they get used to how it works. So life jacket, coming up on summer, or even during the summer, maybe if it's a life jacket used, maybe you have an extra one. Keep it around in the house. Let them explore it. Let them play with it. Practice putting it on with them. Let them practice like how it works. And then you can talk to them. Here's how it's so safe. It keeps you safe. Mommy wears one. Daddy wears one. Big brother wears one. You wear one. Here's why we wear it. If you fall in the water, it'll help you float. So you definitely want to give them experience outside of the situation that you're hoping goes well, like at the beach or at the on the boat or whatever, because that's where the meltdown might happen, right? So you want to give them an opportunity to recognize that they are capable, but they're capable in this developmentally appropriate way, so that it's familiar to them. They recognize what's going to happen. Here's how you still can move your body, because again, like literally this poor little girl that I'm thinking of from the summer, the life jacket is a little bit of a physical burden. Like, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah. Like, no one likes wearing a life jacket.
I don't either. So you want to honor that for your child, because your child might be communicating in their epic meltdown of I don't want to wear my life jacket because it's awkward, mommy and daddy. I don't like it. It hurts my armpits. Like, whatever. My head can't move. It's kind of the point of the life jacket. But if you fall in the water, you want those features, but on land, it's so awkward.
Yeah.
And this dad was doing all he could this summer when I saw this happen, but he went the route of trying to rationalize with his toddler that he couldn't rationalize with, right? And the threat came out of either put this on or we don't go swimming. He could not follow through on that threat. They were going to the beach. Don't give choices that are couched as threats that you can't follow through on as a parent, because that's not helpful to anybody. Of course, she went swimming without it on. She won that power struggle.
Oh no! Yeah, because they don't want to go home.
Yeah, right. They're not gonna go home.
Yeah.
We're not gonna go home. So to Katie, who wrote this in, let your daughter practice with the life jacket at home and teach her about how we use it. Model it if you can. Wear your own as much as possible. And then when you do go to the boat or you do go to the beach, prep your child. This is when we're wearing it. Here, we're gonna get it on. If they have a hard time, we're gonna soothe them. You wish you didn't have to wear this right now. I know it's so uncomfortable. We can handle this. Remember, just like at home, breathe with me. You're gonna help them soothe. They'll probably be sitting on your lap, right? They'll flail out maybe, but then you bring them to your lap, you soothe them. We're gonna wear this. I know. You can handle it. Look, mommy's got hers on too. Here we go. And then as they get through it, you could bring that in as okay, let's go check out the water, right? It's so look at it, so splashy, right? You're gonna help them shift their mood at the very end a little bit, and it's not a distraction because you've helped them through their feeling. You're not distracting out of the feelings. You've helped them through their feeling. You're helping them shift at the end as that last part of the follow through, because they are gonna wear it. And then you're going to help them handle how to wear it. So there's fun things to do even when you have your awkward life jacket on. Yeah. You can splash in the water. You can ride on the boat. You can fish, whatever it is, right? Mm-hmm. So that's in a nutshell, without having Katie right here, is working in toddler land, first of all, and second of all, with something hard like a life jacket. That's a real one. For
Yeah,
sure.
and I feel like that relates to everything. The hats or jackets, like you said,
Anything,
because toddlers don't want to have to wear extra things and them just playing with it.
And when we do it to them, there's that can feel right. We don't like people doing things to us, right? And imagine how it is when you are 1 or 2 years old and people are doing things to you all day long. It's frustrating, and you don't understand why it's happening because you don't have the world context to understand why do I have my hat on? Oh, it's cold outside in Minnesota or whatever, right? So we want to give them opportunities to explore these natural moments through play. Let them explore it. Let them have a sense of ownership over it. And I, as ahead of those meltdowns, and I promise the meltdowns won't be so epic.
Yeah.
So we have one more question from Tyrone. He wants to know, his 8-year-old daughter never wants to do her homework. Is there anything that he can do to get her motivated without triggering a meltdown?
Yeah, that's a tough one, right? And that's going to be an everyday battle. So that's hard, and we've all been there. I mean, there's a couple, pre-teaching things to think about. I think in this situation for this family, how's your daughter's homework set up at home? Does she have a dedicated spot or a spot that helps her feel competent and ready to work? It could be the kitchen table, it could be the couch, it could be the bedroom, it could be, whatever your home setup is. But really work with your child and figure out where's the spot where you feel ready to work. Not in front of distractions, not, cuddled up in your bed, maybe is too sleepy, something, whatever works for your child. So figuring that out. And also honoring for your child what's the best time of the afternoon or evening or weekend to do that homework, because like any of us, we have optimal times where we're ready to use our brain power. And for me, that's not right away after my workday, right? I need to decompress. A lot of our kids do too, and again, they can't always communicate about that, so it could be a meltdown. So figuring out with your daughter what's going to be the best time of day with your family schedule to get that work done in the place that helps her get the work done. So that's a little bit of the to think about ahead of time. And then helping her through that meltdown. You're going to be calm. She starts storming. I don't want to do my math. I'm not doing it. Dad, you can't make me. You're breathing. Whew. Baby girl, we can get through this, right? And you seem like you really don't. You seem so frustrated. You really aren't looking forward to doing your math. I am not looking forward. No, I am not going to do it. I am not. You can't make me. You're right. I can't make you, and I'm not going to make you. But we do need to figure out a way to get this done. So come on over here. Fine, right? You'll see her give a little, and then you can know when you can help move on. But depending on how escalated she gets, if she's just huffing, if she's ripping up her homework, that's different than if she's just moping around and not stonewalling. Oh, I'm not gonna tell her. I don't want to humph. No, crossed arms. Your arms are going like this. You seem like seems really hard for you. What part's hard? Let's look at this together. I'm here to help. I'm not gonna do it for you. We can get through this, but I'll sit right here. Let's figure this out, okay? You're going to help your child do their homework. And yes, it's going to take something from you, but I can guarantee you that amount of time that you spend co-regulating with your child and helping them through the upset time is better time spent for you in your relationship with your child, and also learning time spent. What are they socially, emotionally learning? Then you actually going through the meltdown and doing whatever you do now that you're not feeling good about as the parent, right? So this co-regulating, this tip that we're giving today, it does take a little bit of time. It does take emotional energy, and I promise you it'll pay off and it'll feel better than some of the things that might not be feeling too good right now. And it'll take a lot shorter time, meltdown after meltdown, they learn, right? Oh, this is how mom helps me through this. This is how dad helps me through this. This is how grandma helps me through this. So that it goes quicker and they get that same learning done as the bride might have that we talked about at the beginning, right? So it goes a little bit quicker.
So there's a light at the end of the
tunnel. There's a light. Yeah. This takes a little bit of energy, but there's a huge light. There's a big payoff for your child's, emotional well-being for the rest of their lives. That's what you're teaching.
And we're all learning here. It's all a learning experience. Every situation's different.
Yeah. What do you learn from it? Absolutely.
Well, that is all we have for today. And I just want to thank you, Kate, for joining us. I know I've learned a lot, and I hope this was very helpful for parents out there. I know for me, I'm going to take your tips and help my son moving forward. So I really appreciate you taking the time. And we'll definitely have you join us for more podcasts.
We would be happy to help.
Thank you guys for listening.